It happens in less than 3 seconds. The handshake, the smile, the polite exchange of pleasantries. "Hi, I'm Sarah," she says. "Nice to meet you, Sarah," you reply. And then the conversation starts. You talk about the weather or the coffee in the back of the room or how terrible the traffic was getting here. It's going great. You're connecting. You're making solid eye contact. And then maybe 30 seconds later, you realize you need to introduce her to someone else who just walked up. Or maybe you just need to address her directly to agree with the point she just made. So you reach into your brain, opening the little mental filing cabinet where you literally just placed her name, and the folder is empty. It's completely vanished. Panic sets in. Your heart rate spikes. You start doing frantic mental gymnastics while maintaining a calm, nodding exterior. Was it an S name? Samantha? Stephanie? Was it something with an M? The more you reach for it, the further away it slips. You eventually settle on aggressively avoiding using any name at all. You call her man or friend, or you just vaguely gesture in her direction while looking at the newcomer. It's exhausting. It's embarrassing. And as you finally walk away, feeling a hot flush of shame creeping up your neck, you think to yourself, what is wrong with my brain? Why am I so bad at this? Let me stop you right there. Take a breath. You are not broken. You are not suffering from early onset memory loss, and you are definitely not a careless, selfish person who just doesn't value other people. I know that's the narrative that plays on a loop in your head. For nearly a century, self-help culture has told us that remembering a person's name is the ultimate sign of respect. We are beaten over the head with that famous Dale Carnegie quote, "A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language." And by extension, society has conditioned us to believe that forgetting a name is the ultimate sign of disrespect. We're taught that if you really cared about someone, if you were truly a good listener, you would simply remember. But that is fundamentally untrue. Your intelligence is completely intact. Your empathy is working just fine. The truth is, the reason you are forgetting names has almost nothing to do with how much you care about the person standing in front of you. It is entirely about how your brain is prioritizing your own survival in a highly complex social environment. You are not failing a character test. You're just experiencing a completely normal, highly documented glitch in human neurobiology. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the sheer cognitive chaos happening in your brain during an introduction. When you meet someone new, your brain is not calmly sitting at a desk with a fresh notepad, ready to take dictation. It is a frantic air traffic controller dealing with a dozen psychological emergencies at once. You are analyzing their facial expressions, reading their body language, monitoring your own posture, worrying about whether your hands are sweaty, and desperately trying to formulate something clever to say next. This is what cognitive psychologists call the next in line effect. It's a phenomenon that was extensively studied by researcher Malcolm Brener in the 1970s. Brener found that when we anticipate our turn to speak or perform, like when we are about to introduce ourselves, our cognitive resources are so consumed by the anxiety of our own upcoming performance that we effectively stop recording incoming information. We aren't actually processing what the other person is saying, including their name, because our working memory is completely hijacked by the stress of the social interaction. And then there is the nature of names themselves. In 1990, the brilliant psychologist Cohen demonstrated something fascinating. It's now known in psychology as the Baker-Baker paradox. Cohen found that if I introduce you to a man and tell you his profession is a baker, you will very likely remember it days later. Your brain instantly builds a massive web of associations. You picture flour, fresh bread, early mornings, a white apron, a warm oven. But if I introduce you to that exact same man and tell you his name is Mr. Baker, you are highly likely to forget it within minutes. Why? Because a name, in isolation, means absolutely nothing to the brain. It has no context. It's just an arbitrary string of sounds floating in a void. When someone says, "I'm Sarah," your brain has nothing to attach that to. There is no neurovelcro. Your working memory, which can only hold about 3 to 5 pieces of information for roughly 20 seconds, gets overwhelmed by the social performance, and the arbitrary sound of Sarah is simply dropped from the queue before it ever has a chance to make it to your long-term memory. Think of your memory like a bustling, high-stakes mailroom. When you're alone at home, reading a book or watching a documentary, sorting packages is easy. The packages are facts, concepts, and ideas. You look at the label, you put it in the right slot, and everything is perfectly organized. But meeting someone new isn't a quiet mailroom. Meeting someone new is like standing in the middle of that exact same mailroom while the fire alarm is blaring. The overhead sprinklers are going off, and a 50-piece marching band just kicked the front doors open and started playing. Suddenly, amidst all this chaos, someone walks up to you, hands you a tiny blank envelope with no return address on it, and whispers, "Don't lose this." You take the envelope. You really want to keep it safe. But you are currently trying to put out a fire, dodge the marching band, and make sure you aren't doing anything embarrassing in front of everyone watching. You shove the tiny envelope in your pocket, fully intending to file it later when things calm down. But when the noise finally dies down, you reach into your pocket and it's gone. It slipped through a hole. You didn't lose the envelope because you didn't care about it. You lost it because the environment was entirely too chaotic, the envelope was too small to hold on to, and you were purely focused on surviving the noise. The name is that tiny envelope. The marching band is your social anxiety. But here is where we have to look a little deeper. And this might be slightly uncomfortable to hear. The reason that marching band is so incredibly loud, the reason your brain is in such a profound state of chaos during an introduction, is because in that exact moment, you are entirely focused on yourself. Not in an arrogant way, not in a narcissistic, self-obsessed way, but in a deeply vulnerable, highly anxious, self-protective way. You are so worried about how you are being perceived. You are so terrified of being awkward. You are so consumed with making a good impression, sounding smart, and ensuring you don't do anything foolish, that you aren't actually present with the other person at all. You are trapped inside your own head. You are essentially watching yourself from the outside, critiquing your own performance in real time. Am I making enough eye contact? Did I smile correctly? Is my voice too loud? Am I standing weirdly? When you are that heavily guarded, when you are dedicating that massive amount of psychological energy to monitoring your own safety and likability, there is literally no room left to receive a gift from someone else. And their name is a gift. You forget their name because, psychologically speaking, you haven't actually arrived at the meeting yet. You are still at the door, checking your armor. So it's time to completely change the story you tell yourself. Forgetting a name does not mean you have a bad memory. It does not mean you are a bad person. It means you have a hyperactive social monitor. It means you care deeply, perhaps far too deeply, about making the interaction go perfectly to the point that it short-circuits your own cognitive processing. You are not a careless listener. You are an overwhelmed empath. Let that sink in for a second. You are an overwhelmed empath. This glitch is a byproduct of your intense desire to be accepted and to connect, not your apathy. You don't need to feel shame anymore. You just need a new strategy. And we can fix it. Right now. Today. You don't need to build a complex memory palace in your mind. You don't need to do weird visualization exercises where you picture Sarah with a giant sword standing on the sun. You just need to interrupt the next in line effect. You just need to pause the marching band. Here is your micro step. It is incredibly simple and it works every single time. The next time someone introduces themselves, you are going to enforce a strict 3-second delay before the conversation moves forward, and you're going to use their name out loud attached to a question. That's it. When she says, "Hi, I'm Sarah," you do not immediately spit back, "Nice to meet you, I'm John." You pause. You look right at her, and you say, "Sarah." You let it hang there for half a second. "It is so great to meet you, Sarah. What brings you out here tonight?" By forcing yourself to say it out loud immediately, you forcefully pull your brain out of the air traffic control panic. You switch your brain from anxious output mode into active input mode. You stop the internal monologue dead in its tracks. And most importantly, you take that arbitrary, contextless sound of Sarah and you physically build neurovelcro. By moving your mouth, using your vocal cords, and hearing your own voice say the word, you give your working memory the exact anchor it needs to transfer that tiny envelope into long-term storage. Try it this week, just once. Watch how the panic completely disappears when you finally take control of the introduction, rather than letting the introduction control you. If this resonated with you today, if this helped explain a confusing piece of your mind that always felt a little bit broken, hit the subscribe button. We explore the hidden psychology of everyday life here every single week. And before you go, drop a comment down below. What is the absolute worst or most embarrassing time you completely blanked on someone's name? You are perfectly normal. Your memory is fine. Now get out there and say some name. I'll see you in the next one.